American B-52 bombers just flew directly over Tehran in broad daylight. Not from a safe distance, not from hundreds of miles away hiding behind cruise missiles, over the city, over the capital, over the most heavily defended airspace in the Middle East. And there was absolutely nothing Iran could do about it. Nothing China could do about it. Nothing Russia could do about it. The B-52 Stratofortress, a bomber so old it first flew in 1952, older than most of your parents. And it just became the most powerful symbol of American dominance the world has seen in a generation. How does a 70-year-old bomber fly over a hostile capital in broad daylight and come home without a scratch? Stay with me, because the answer terrified Beijing far more than it terrified Tehran. And once you understand why, you will never look at this war the same way again. First, you need to understand what the B-52 actually is. Because when people hear that America sent a bomber from 1952 to strike Iran, they think that sounds old. They think that sounds outdated. That is exactly the wrong way to look at it. Think of the B-52 like a pickup truck that has been completely rebuilt from the inside every 10 years. The body is old, the engine is new, the navigation system is new. The weapons it carries are the most advanced precision-guided munitions on the planet. The B-52 is not old. The B-52 is proven. There is a reason America has been upgrading this aircraft for 70 straight years instead of replacing it. Because nothing does what it does. It can carry 70,000 pounds of bombs. 70,000 pounds. That is the weight of 5 fully loaded school buses dropped on a single target in a single pass. No other aircraft in the world carries that kind of payload at that kind of range. And here is what makes the B-52 truly terrifying in a war like this one. It does not need to be close to hurt you. It can launch cruise missiles from over 1,000 miles away. Long-range JASSM cruise missiles that fly low and fast and hit within feet of their target. Iran cannot see them coming. Iran cannot track them in time. And by the time the explosion happens, the B-52 that fired them is already halfway back to its base in England. Iran built bunkers specifically to hide from aircraft like this. Underground facilities buried deep in the earth with reinforced concrete walls thick enough to survive conventional bombs. Iran spent years engineering those bunkers. Iran spent billions building them. And the B-52 carried a bomb built specifically to punch through every single inch of that concrete and detonate inside. That was phase 1. Standoff strikes from a safe distance. Safe, lethal, precise. Iran knew the B-52s were out there but could not reach them. Then something changed. And this is the part that shocked the entire world. In late March 2026, American B-52s stopped launching from a distance. They flew directly over Iranian territory, over the country, over the cities, in broad daylight. And that single decision told every military commander on the planet one thing. America had destroyed Iran's air defenses so completely that the oldest bomber in the American arsenal could now fly over the capital of Iran like it was a training exercise over Kansas. That is not just a military achievement. That is a message, sent in broad daylight, to every country watching. China was watching, and what Beijing saw reportedly sent shockwaves through their entire military leadership. Here is why China was so scared. China has spent the last 20 years building an air defense network specifically designed to stop American aircraft. Billions of dollars invested, advanced radar systems installed along every coastline, long-range surface-to-air missiles positioned to cover every approach. Their entire military strategy for defending against America is built around one idea: make American air power too expensive to use, make the losses too high, make America back down. That strategy looked reasonable on paper. Then they watched American B-52s fly over Tehran like the Iranian air defense network simply did not exist. Because by that point, it essentially did not exist anymore. Iran's missile launch rate fell 90% from the first day of the war. 90%. Iran started this conflict firing 480 ballistic missiles every single day. By mid-March, that number had dropped to around 40. Iran fired 2,000 drones on day 1. By week 3, that number had collapsed to fewer than 200. The military machine Iran spent 40 years building was being dismantled in real time. And Beijing was watching the same thing happen to their allies' air defense network that China's own network is directly modeled after. Every Iranian S-300 battery that went dark, every radar installation that stopped transmitting, every command center that went silent. China's military planners were not just watching Iran lose. They were watching a live demonstration of what happens to any country that tries to stop America from taking apart their air defenses. The answer is the same every time. America takes them apart anyway. Now let us talk about the strikes themselves, because the B-52 did not just fly over Tehran and come home. It delivered. In the first 100 hours of Operation Epic Fury, B-52s struck Iran's ballistic missile sites and command and control posts across the country. These were not soft targets. These were hardened underground facilities buried deep in the earth specifically to survive conventional bombing. America sent B-52s loaded with 2,000-pound satellite-guided JDAM bombs, bunker-busting weapons that punch through reinforced concrete and detonate inside the facility after penetrating. The engineers who built those bunkers spent years calculating exactly how deep they needed to go to survive a strike. American engineers spent years building a bomb that goes deeper than any bunker Iran could construct. By the end of March, B-52s operating out of RAF Fairford in England were flying fully loaded with 20 GBU-31 JDAM bombs each, 20 bombs per aircraft, multiple aircraft per mission arriving in sequence. The math is almost hard to process. One single B-52 mission delivers more explosive payload onto a target than most countries on Earth can generate in an entire month-long air campaign. And Iran could not stop any of it. Because the aircraft that cleared the road for the B-52s had already been doing their job for weeks before the bombers arrived. The EA-18G Growlers flying from American carriers spent weeks systematically hunting and destroying every Iranian radar that dared to switch on. The F-35 stealth fighters flew through Iranian airspace, hitting the command nodes that controlled the air defense network. The Tomahawk cruise missiles leveled the buildings where Iranian air defense commanders sat and made their decisions. By the time the B-52s flew over Tehran in broad daylight, they were not entering a contested airspace. They were flying over the graveyard of what used to be an air defense network, a network Iran spent 40 years and tens of billions of dollars building specifically to prevent this exact moment. This is the part China cannot stop thinking about. Beijing watched America execute a systematic, layered, perfectly coordinated campaign that did not just beat Iran's defenses. It erased them completely, radar by radar, command post by command post, missile battery by missile battery, until the most famous strategic bomber in history could fly over the enemy capital in daylight, with no more danger than a commercial flight over friendly skies. China called it deeply concerning. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said Beijing was highly concerned and called for an immediate stop to military actions. That is diplomat language. The translation is simple. We are watching something we cannot stop, and we have no idea what to do about it. And Beijing had every reason to feel that way, because nearly half of China's total oil imports pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Everything China needs to keep its factories running, its cities powered, its economy functioning flows through the same waters that American forces just established complete dominance over. Iran tried to close the strait to hurt the West. The cruel geography of it means every barrel of oil Iran blocks hurts China worse than anyone else. China built a military and economic partnership with Iran worth hundreds of billions. And American B-52s just proved in live combat that the entire military architecture Iran and China built together could not stop a single American bomber from going exactly where America decided to send it. Xi Jinping had no response that mattered. Think about what that means. The leader of the second most powerful country on Earth watched his most important military partner get dismantled on live television over 5 weeks and could not do one single meaningful thing about it. Could not send warships, could not threaten credible military action, could not even issue a statement strong enough to change anything. Because the moment China made a real move, they would be facing the same military machine that just turned Iran's 40-year air defense investment into rubble in less than a month. China chose words. America chose B-52s. The entire world watched both choices happen, and the entire world knows which choice actually mattered. What happened over Tehran in broad daylight was not just a military strike. It was a live demonstration broadcast to every government and every military on the planet. A demonstration that 70 years of continuous American investment in air power and technology and pilot training had produced a military capability that simply has no equal anywhere on Earth. American B-52s can fly anywhere America decides to send them. No air defense network stops them. No alliance prevents them. No amount of preparation and investment and planning changes the outcome when America commits to a mission. The B-52 Strait of Hormuz first flew in 1952. It will reportedly still be flying in 2050. 3 full generations of American airmen have trusted their lives to this aircraft. 3 full generations of enemies have tried and failed to stop it. And on the day it flew over Tehran in broad daylight during a live war, it did not just deliver bombs onto Iranian targets. It delivered a message to every military in the world that received it instantly and understood it completely. There is American air power, and then there is everything else on the planet combined. Over 10,000 Iranian military targets destroyed, 130 Iranian naval vessels eliminated in the largest destruction of a navy in a single campaign since World War II. Iran's ballistic missile launch capability reduced by 92% in 5 weeks, and a 70-year-old American bomber flying over the enemy capital in broad daylight without a single Iranian surface-to-air missile getting close enough to matter. Here is the number that puts everything into perspective. In the first 100 hours of Operation Epic Fury alone, American forces struck over 2,000 Iranian targets. In 5 weeks of total operations, that number climbed past 10,000. The B-52 was not the only weapon. It was not even the first weapon. It was the final proof. The weapon America sends when the work is already done, and all that remains is to show the world that it is done. Flying a B-52 over Tehran in broad daylight is not a military necessity at that point. It is a statement. America, looking at every country that spent the last 20 years building air defenses modeled on Iran's and saying clearly that none of it will be enough. Only one country on Earth builds aircraft that last 70 years and makes them more lethal every single decade. Only one Air Force on Earth trains pilots good enough to systematically dismantle an entire integrated air defense network before the heavy bombers even arrive. Only one military in the entire history of human warfare has ever demonstrated this level of sustained, precise, overwhelming air power in a live shooting war against a real defended and prepared adversary. China saw it. Russia saw it. Every country with a military watched it, and every single one of them understood the same thing at the same moment. When America decides a job needs to get done, the job gets done. The B-52 flew over Tehran in broad daylight because America earned that right. One destroyed radar at a time, one silenced missile battery at a time, one leveled command center at a time, until there was nothing left that could stop it. If you are proud of the men and women who make this possible, type proud in the comments right now. Subscribe to our channel. We do not guess here, we engineer.